Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe and like. Our series begins with a large high school that is said to have won the title of Best School for 2 consecutive years. People believe that life there is calm and peaceful, but suddenly, we see a boy driving a car at high speed. His name is Hang, the leader of the school. He's with a group of guys who didn't come to study, but to do what they enjoy most, bullying others. The school isn't what it seems. It has a darker side. The scene shifts to a group of students blackmailing a boy and choking him until he loses consciousness, then locking him inside a locker. They were playing a game, but it was extremely cruel. Every time he lost, they slapped him across the face. Hang was enjoying everything that was happening. They locked the boy in the recording room and beat him brutally. Not only that, they turned on the microphones so the entire school could hear his screams. Everyone could see and knew what was happening, but no one dared to speak or move. In the next scene, our heroine, Simon, appears as she enters the school. It becomes clear that she isn't a regular teacher. She's only a temporary hire for 3 months. There, she meets another teacher named Jong. While they're talking, the principal interrupts them, throws in a rude, inappropriate comment about Simin, and leaves. Jong gets angry, and Simin feels insulted too, but she stays silent. A little later, Simin is sitting alone in the bathroom, looking distressed and upset, but she doesn't say a word. She wants to prove herself and secure a permanent position. Then 2 teachers walk into the bathroom. One of them says they're afraid Simin might find out what happened to the previous temporary teacher, Soshi, that he ended his own life, and some say it was because of bullying. When Simin hears this, her heart sinks, and she feels intense fear. She immediately starts searching online to find out the truth. She's shocked to discover that the previous teacher was also a victim of bullying by the students, and no one stood by him until he eventually took his own life. At that moment, Simin's phone rings. It's Jong calling. The ringtone gives away her presence in the bathroom. When she comes out, she quickly puts on her earphones, pretending she didn't hear anything. Jong tells her she has something important to show her, and shows her a video of the same bullying group humiliating another teacher in front of everyone. In the middle of the video, Simin spots Hang and realizes he's the mastermind behind all of this. Jong tells her that Hang once beat a student so badly that the boy had to leave the school entirely. Then he transferred here. She continues, warning Simin that if she wants to keep her job and get a permanent position, she has to act blind and deaf, as if she sees and hears nothing. Simin doesn't respond, but inside, she's burning with anger. When she gets home, she starts punching a sandbag, releasing all her frustration. That's when we learn that Simin isn't ordinary. She used to be a boxer. A young man enters, and it turns out he's her brother, a police officer. Simin tells him she finally got the job she always dreamed of, but everything happening inside the school is wrong, and she feels helpless, not knowing what to do. We also discover that their father was a boxer too, and once won a major award called the Brave Citizen. But after that recognition, his life turned upside down and became difficult. Simin explains that her father stood up for what was right, but the result was that he fell into debt. Now she's forced to pay off his debts and manage his gym, which made her bury her own dreams. Her brother tells her that she's just like their father. She can never stay silent in the face of Dhulm. At that moment, her eyes fall on a mask lying nearby, and an idea sparks in her mind. Days pass, and Simin's life seems normal, but one day, she sees the same group bullying a student in her class named Jin, the same boy they targeted before. They put a plastic bag over his head and start beating him brutally again. Simin notices that the surveillance camera is deliberately covered and turned off. She can't tamil it anymore and runs toward them to stop what's happening. On her way, she runs into a boy named Juan, who warns her not to interfere, saying that this group is extremely powerful and controls the school from top to bottom. Inside the room, Hang is holding Jin and threatening him, saying that if he says a word, he'll harm his grandmother. Just as he's about to kick the boy, Simin suddenly steps in and blocks him. Both of them fall, but she quickly gets up and pretends it was all an accident. After she leaves, Hang gets angry and asks who she is. One of his friends tells him she's the new teacher who replaced the one who committed suicide. Hearing that makes him furious, and he even starts hitting his own friends. In the next scene, we see the boy who bumped into her earlier training secretly in boxing at her father's gym. He's been preparing to take revenge on Hang, not knowing that the trainer is actually Simin's father. The next day, Simin calls Jin into her office and asks asks him about what's happening. He tells her that everyone knows, but no one helped him. Instead, they told him to transfer to another school because no one has the courage to confront Hang. Jin begs her to help him, saying he just wants to live. He also reveals that he went to the police, but the evidence wasn't strong enough, and instead of helping him, the bullies beat him again. He asks why he should be the one to leave when he did nothing wrong. What happened to him is unjust, and they are the ones who should be punished. At that moment, two students are secretly listening and recording everything. The next day, Hang's mother comes to the school carrying sweets and food for the teachers to celebrate the school's latest award. That night, Simin sits at home, frustrated and angry, wanting to act but knowing that if she speaks up, it will bring trouble upon herself. The following day, she decides to confront Hang, but he responds arrogantly, disrespects her, and even tries to raise his hand against her, coldly telling her to get out. Simin doesn't say a single word. She walked away, and suddenly all the teachers received a message on their phones. It was a formal complaint submitted to the school board, stating that a student had been severely bullied, and when he asked for help, no one supported him. No one knew who had filed the complaint. Immediately, Hang's mother stormed in, furious and shouting, asking who had a problem with her son. Her lawyer was with her, saying that the matter had now become a criminal case, and whoever was responsible could face up to 5 years in prison and a heavy fine. He added that if the person who filed the complaint confessed, they might let it go. At that moment, Jung walked in and said that there is such a thing as justice, and if the truth is clear in court, the one who filed the complaint wouldn't be punished. The punishment would fall on those who actually committed the wrongdoing. The lawyer didn't know how to respond and fell silent, but Hang's mother became even more enraged. She slapped the lawyer, then shoved Jung backward, shouting at her, accusing her of being behind all this. She said Jung had done the same thing last year, but they had handled it quietly back then. This time, she wouldn't let it slide. She thought Jung would stay silent, but instead, she ruined everything. The principal tried to intervene, but she glared at him and said that if he wanted to become the headmaster, he should find out who filed the complaint. Then, Simin stepped forward, knelt down, and said that she was the one who filed it. She apologized and asked for forgiveness. Hang's mother started insulting her, saying no one even knows who she is, and asking if she understands what she's done. Then she turned to the principal and ordered him to fire her immediately. Hang stood beside his mother, looked at Jin, and told him he would never escape, that he would always be after him. Later, Hang met with his mother and the principal, and it became clear that even his mother couldn't fully control him. He told the principal not to fire Seaman. If she left now, he wouldn't be able to teach her a lesson himself. A while later, Seaman was sitting in a small restaurant when Hang and his group walked in. They surrounded her and began bullying her. He told her she hadn't been fired because she was now under his control and would do exactly what he said. Seaman stayed silent and tried to leave, but he grabbed her violently and pulled her closer, whispering in her ear to obey him if she wanted to keep her job. He even said that if she became his girlfriend, it would be better because he liked her. Simin ignored him, which made him threaten her. If she didn't listen, her end would be at his hands. On her way back, she accidentally bumped into a man and apologized, trying to walk away. But the man suddenly turned around and hit her hard, shouting insults at her. Even after being hit, she tried to ignore him, but he kept yelling and threatening her. At that moment, something inside Simin broke. She realized it had been a huge mistake to stay silent all this time. When the man raised his hand to hit her again, she didn't stay quiet this time. She turned quickly, lifted her leg, and delivered a powerful kick to his face, knocking him unconscious instantly. At the same time, Hang was at the basketball court with his group. Another boy accidentally bumped into him during the game, but Hang grabbed him and started beating him, turning it into a massive fight between two groups. From a distance, Simon saw what was happening. She put on a cat-shaped mask so no one would recognize her, then ran toward them. As soon as she arrived, she struck Hang, knocking him to the ground. The fight escalated quickly, and Simon gave him a brutal beating in front of everyone. It was pure chaos, punches, blood, students flying in every direction, until suddenly the police arrived. Everyone panicked and ran like rats to hide. But inside, Simon felt incredibly satisfied, not just because she beat Hang, but because, for the first time, she truly stood up for herself. At that moment, the same boy she had bumped into earlier saw her removing the mask and realized everything. Simon was the one behind it all. He was happy because he was the same boy secretly training in boxing at her father's gym. The next day, the entire school was in chaos. The news had spread everywhere. All the students were laughing at Hang, mocking him. When he entered the classroom, he found a drawing of a mask on his desk. Furious, he flipped the table in rage. Meanwhile, June was secretly training with his coach. He was shocked to learn that Seaman was the coach's daughter, the same girl her father had once disowned. At the same time, time, the situation kept getting worse. Jin was being bullied even more brutally than before. They stripped his shirt, humiliated him, and ordered him to bring them food. Jun was terrified and ashamed. He ran to the restaurant where he worked. After seeing everything, he couldn't stay silent anymore and rushed to find Simin. Out of breath, he told her everything. He admitted that he knew her secret, that she was the one wearing the cat mask and beating Hang. He also confessed that he was the one who called the police and spread the story in school so everyone would know the truth about Hang. Meanwhile, Jin, filled with pain and rage, found a knife lying nearby. He grabbed it and ran like a madman, intending to kill Hang. At that very moment, Simon arrived at the same place, but Hang's group was already waiting for her. As soon as she entered, they attacked her and started beating her randomly. But this time, she didn't give in. She fought back, blow for blow. Every move she made hurt more than the last. This time, there was no fear, only a burning fire inside her. She stood firmly on her feet and unleashed a furious barrage of punches on Hang's face until he finally gave in. Suddenly, Jin burst into the scene, holding a knife in his hand. His eyes were red, filled with rage and pain. It was clear he saw nothing but revenge. The moment Simin saw him, she understood everything. If that knife went in, Hang's life would be over forever. She rushed forward and stepped between them. The knife, meant for Hang, cut into Simin instead. Jin dropped to his knees, screaming and crying in agony. He couldn't go through with it. He couldn't become a killer. His voice was broken as he said he couldn't do it. At that moment, the restaurant owner arrived and pulled them both away. After that, Simin was taken to the hospital. When she woke up, she refused to say anything to the police. She knew that if the truth came out, Jin's life would be ruined. Meanwhile, Hang still didn't know who the masked attacker was, but suddenly, another person wearing the same cat mask appeared. It turned out to be Simon's father, who came to take revenge on Hang. However, before he could do anything, Hang knocked him down and began beating him brutally. At that time, Simon had just left the hospital. When she saw her father lying on the ground, she immediately understood what had happened, that Hang had come for her, but the one who was humiliated and beaten was her father. As she sat in a car, memories flooded her mind of the final match in the national championship where she had been performing brilliantly, but suddenly she abandoned the match and lost. Her father had been furious, yelling at her, asking how she could throw away all her hard work like that. Back then, her father had been drowning in debt, on the verge of losing everything. Her coach had told her to lose that match on purpose in exchange for saving her father's gym. She had no choice. She sacrificed her dream for her father, but he never understood that. He shouted at her, saying she had ruined everything for him, and declared that from that day on, she was no longer his daughter, that his daughter had died in the ring. Back in the present, Simin, lying down, overheard her father speaking. He admitted that she was the one who sacrificed her dream and did what he couldn't do, and that he had failed to protect her. The next day, Hang began roaming around the school, watching everyone carefully. He knew the masked person had an injured hand and was determined to find them. They started checking students one by one, inspecting their hands, and turning the school upside down, but found nothing. At the same time, Jung told Simin that she would soon become a permanent teacher, but Hang's suspicions kept growing stronger. Then he noticed something strange. He saw Simin make a familiar boxing move, the exact same strike he had received from the masked fighter. At that moment, he became certain that Simin was the one behind the cat mask. He followed her to the teacher's room, where she was on the phone, happily talking about finally becoming a permanent teacher. Hang entered, grabbed her hand, and said he had found her. He told her that the knife hadn't been meant for her, that she stepped in and took the stab meant for him, saving Jin, while he saved her. Suddenly, he pulled out a plastic bag and put it over her face, whispering that he could kill her right now, but that would be boring. Then he noticed a poster about the school's annual festival. A sinister smile spread across his face as he proposed a challenge, a boxing match. If she didn't show up, he would release a video of Jin holding the knife, exposing him to everyone as someone who tried to kill him. Simin looked at him and said that all of this was just a game to him. Then she asked him one question. Had he ever felt guilty for anything he's done? Hang laughed mockingly and told her she was nothing like him, that she was nothing at all, just someone born poor who would die poor. Unbeknownst to them, Hyun was standing outside, hearing every single word. After that, Simin receives heartbreaking news. Jin has transferred to another school. She rushes to his house, where she meets his grandmother. There, she learns the truth. Jin's grandmother is a very poor, helpless woman, and Simin had known her for a long time because she had helped her several times before. The grandmother begs Simin to save her grandson, saying he sacrificed his entire future for her and stood against the world just to protect her. Meanwhile, Jin is standing on the edge of a rooftop, his eyes filled with pain. He's ready to jump. Simon runs as fast as she can and finds him standing on the edge, completely broken and prepared to throw himself off. With tears in her eyes, she tells him, "I'm sorry. I told you I'd stand by you, but I failed." He looks at her, shattered, and says he once asked why they did this to him. He thought maybe he had done something wrong, but they told him they were doing it just for fun. That word, fun, hurt him more than any knife ever could. He begins to step back, but Simin grabs his hand tightly. Jin recalls a painful memory. One day, he saw his grandmother being humiliated by Hang's group. He tried to stand up for her, but they beat him brutally. Despite the pain, he begged them, "Do whatever you want to me, just leave her alone." Hang mocked him and told him to eat food off the ground. Back in the present, Simin holds his hand firmly and tells him, "We'll end this together." On the day of the school festival, the boxing match between Simin and Hang is set, but something unexpected happens. Every student is wearing cat masks. Yes, the symbol of justice, the mask that had become legendary. The story had spread, and everyone united behind it. The one behind all of this was the boy who had been secretly training at her father's gym, the one who believed in her strength from the very beginning. As Simin prepares for the match, a girl wearing a cat mask pulls her aside, as if delivering a secret message. When Simin looks into her eyes, it feels like looking into a mirror of her past. Memories rush back. She remembers being a fierce fighter, someone who protected others and dreamed big. A voice echoes in her mind, "If you don't stand up now, nothing will ever change." Her heart fills with determination as she steps into the ring. Her father sits in front, silent, watching her closely. The match begins. Hang attacks like a beast, striking her mercilessly. Her hair falls loose, revealing her face. Her identity is exposed. The crowd gasps. It's a girl. The masked fighter was a girl all along. Hang smiles, thinking he's already won, but something inside Simin snaps. She remembers why she's fighting, not just for herself, but for the victims, for Jin, for justice. Covered in blood but unbreakable, she stands tall and declares, "I will bring you to your knees in front of everyone you hurt. You will feel the humiliation you caused others." A voice from the crowd shouts for her to remove the mask, but Simin takes it off herself, revealing her identity to everyone, and the crowd stands with her. The fight continues, and this time, Simin dominates. She lands powerful blows on Hang. A supervisor rushes in to stop the fight, but Hang pushes him away, saying this is an open fight. No one will interfere, and no one will speak up. He tries to finish her, but she explodes with strength and fights back even harder. In the chaos, he accidentally hits the supervisor. Then Simin delivers a final powerful kick that sends him flying out of the ring. She walks up to him and tells him to apologize to Jin immediately. Still arrogant, he refuses. Jin steps forward calmly and says, "I don't want your apology. You've already lost." But Hang grabs a wooden plank and tries to attack again. This time, Simin delivers one last kick to his head, knocking him out completely. After that, Jin files an official complaint against Hang. Another girl steps forward and says she also wants to report the school violence, presenting video evidence. The truth finally comes to light. Hang's bullying and the teacher's suicide are exposed. Everyone sees him for who he really is. Simin leaves teaching, and her father's gym reopens. A new beginning. June begins training there as well. Later, Simin is sitting at her desk, searching for a new school. She finds one that holds the title of the best school in the country, but something feels off. The deeper she looks, the darker the secrets become. Just days ago, a student at that school committed suicide. Affected by this, Simin decides to apply for a teaching position there. On the day of the interview, as she walks across the large campus, a black car stops. A girl steps out. It's the same girl mentioned in the article, connected to the student's suicide. Their eyes meet. The girl looks at the driver with contempt and starts bullying him in front of everyone, without shame or regret. Simin watches silently, but this time, she's not just a bystander. She's ready. During the interview, they ask her why she wants to work there. Simin smiles calmly and says, "I want to give all the love inside me to the students here and teach them everything I've learned." The camera turns, revealing that the new principal is the same woman who once stood beside Simin when no one else did. As Simin gets up to leave, her bag opens slightly, and inside, the mask is visible. At that moment, we understand. Simin has come for a new mission, a new battle, a new bully, and this time, she's ready. And with that, our story ends here. Please like and subscribe. See you in the next drama. Goodbye.